Yep. What's up, guys? Welcome back. No, I don't know why the Scottish accent came out, but there you go, love. Welcome back to Mystar today to talk to you about it's not your fault, love. It's really not your fucking fault. I'm telling you right now, it's not your fault. Now, the reason why I titled it like this, the video, first, the reason on why I titled the video like that was because I remember there was a few other videos that I've been posting in the past. And I always talk about how things condense from the mental to the physical, as we know already. So I wanted to preface, or not preface, I wanted to do this as like a opposition, as like a way to go against that video, but still tie them together because at the end of the day, we're all about equilibrium here. So we're to see all sides of the situation, you see all aspects. We don't just look at one side and be like, oh, yeah, cool. No, you got to look at the other side, bitch. Where's the other side? Go look for it. Go find it, and then you come back and tell me. Otherwise, I'm just gonna assume you didn't have a proper look, love, and you're just trying to be lazy. You know what I mean? Like mentally lazy. So not about mental lazy. So what's it called? When it comes to the past, how I was talking about everything condenses from the mental to the physical. So if you watch that video, you'll obviously know that like our thoughts are like seeds, and then our emotions is like water. So whenever you have a thought and then you give an emotion to that thought, that's like you watering the seed. The more you water that emotion, that will start to manifest and become fruit in your reality, whether it's a person, place, thing, or situation, anything really. Anything in your physical reality, it can come in the form of that. But don't forget, do not be mistaken that you are the creator of that. So you're the one who planted that seed, you're the one who watered it, and you're the one who gets to eat the fruit once, once it manifests into your reality. So that's besides the point, because right now we're talking about the other side of this. We're talking about the opposite end. Because as we know, we live in a shadow government world, right? Shadow government systems are in place for everyone where, a lot of the things that are in place are not really in place for you to succeed, for you to get a leg ahead in life. They even have like, what's it called? Like class systems and stuff like that to give you the illusion of you expanding and growing in their world, right? But at the end of the day, even like if you were up like the upper class, like you're still not close to the kind of riches and wealth that they be experiencing. The shadow government, the people behind the scenes who don't even lift a motherfucking finger and just watch everyone else create their world for them, right? So when you freaking that whole sentence just my mind went a little bit, so I gotta bring myself back. Sorry about that, guys. So when it comes to the system in place that they've set for us, right? They've made the system so that you have to work for certain things, you have to grow to achieve certain things, and a lot of people might not see an issue for it. And you know what? I'm going to be real as well, because at the end of the day, it's all about equilibrium. There are benefits to the system that they've created as well, so it's not all bad. It's not to say completely shun the system or completely get rid of all the stuff that they've put in place, because some of it actually benefits you. Like, that murderer that's locked up in jail, that's actually a benefit. That's not a detriment to society at the end of the day, because that's just one person that's not out killing people. So at least we know that we can be somewhat safe within the streets in that respect. But even that system, the whole like jail system and everything, that's like rigged as well. But when it works, and when it doesn't, yeah, it's shit, it's trash. Let's be real. So besides the point, the reason why I brought that up was because we don't want to be completely hating on a system that still benefits you on a day-to-day basis. At the end of the day, have some equilibrium, have some truth, have some shadow work, look within yourself and realize actually some of this shit you actually really like, some of this shit you actually use, you know what I mean? So, but that's not to say like you should sit down and worship and bow to them, like no, but at the end of the day, the system's trash itself. There's just good things within the system. So, credit where credit's due. Anyways, regardless. So, moving on. When it comes to the system that they've laid in place, right? They've given you the illusion, you can work to this certain point in life, you can work to this certain point in life. And if you're in this class, you get this, you can expect this kind of lifestyle, you can expect this kind of repercussion from your actions, you can expect these kind of situations to appear in your life, right? So there's like the system that they've laid in place for you to be able to live comfortably. Like if you want to be an upper class person living in a nice ass neighborhood, that's a system that's already set in place by the shadow government, but the people who orchestrate and run everything, right? And what's it called? At the end of the day, if you think maybe that the shadow government don't rule the world, or if that somehow like they don't have power, at the end of the day, the government system itself is rampant around the whole world. So how are you going to say that every single system in the world has a government, right? But that each government is independent of themselves. Last time I checked, if people are into the same shit, they're usually working together. Like if I'm into music and I know someone else who's into music, we're usually going to be chilling together, right? So if someone's into government and another person's into government, or let's say in this situation with the shadow government, if someone's into um, building worldviews and controlling the masses, then don't you think that other people who are into that are going to get together and they're going to start to create a system together? That's why the systems are similar. Like they follow similar doctrines, similar ideas. It's all about the mind. So if you think that somehow a bunch of different people from all different areas of the world just somehow started to think the same and build the same system and get inspiration from each other, but yet they're not working together, or they're not all run by the same system or the same government who has the same newspaper that's only run by 3 companies. If you didn't know that, the newspaper company here in Australia, at least, I'm not in Australia, I'm in New Zealand, so used to saying that, but the newspaper company in Australia, I don't know about New Zealand, it's probably the same though. It's 3 companies. So every single newspaper and even news reporters on TV, every single branch is run by 3 companies. So you think you're getting different news, you think you're getting different information, but it's still coming from the news, right? So take that on a larger scale. Look at the shadow government. They've got every government, every country that's in the modern world has government, right? So put 2 and 2 together. They all have one thing in common. They're all government. So at the end of the day, it's all by the shadow government. It's all by the Illuminati. Fuck the Illuminati. That's like a psyop as well to lead you guys off. But that's besides the point. That's a whole other video. When it comes to back to my actual main point of why I made this video, is what's it called? When it comes to the systems that they put in place, there's only a certain amount you can get. There's only a certain limit that you can go to. Like, let's say, for example, certain jobs only have a certain income. Certain houses only have a certain limit or minimum or maximum of how high or low they can be, right? These are all controlled by the system. And you can sit there and say, oh, yeah, well, that's the way things need to be, because if they weren't that way, then things wouldn't be in order. But how can you say that if you haven't tried, first of all? But also, on top of that, just because there's a system in place and the system's working does not mean that it's the right thing to do. For example, like the amount of death and homelessness, starvation that happens and occurs in this system alone. And that's just one governmental system. So many other governmental systems have flaws in themselves, but the thing they all have in common is they're all governmental systems. So if you look at it for what it actually is, the system was made that way to run that way. It's not, oh, they made it to the best of their ability and just some people happen to die. No, they could easily pick up their ass and choose to not let people suffer through certain things. Like, let's say I'm gonna give people grace and say starvation. Fair enough. Maybe you could rule that off as limited resources, but even then, so there's always more room and more land to grow plants. So that makes no sense whatsoever at all. And on top of that, the meat industry consumes more resources and more shit than I'm pretty sure like most industries. I don't know the exact statistics of that, but the meat industry consumes a lot of resources. So, and the meat industry is one of the biggest industries in the world. So you can't even go and say that resources is an issue because at the end of the day, you're running unsustainable systems within your government, regardless. So you can't say that it's for resource preservation. The system is made that way for you to experience those certain consequences and outcomes. Even just the fact that there's literally a bottle on every freaking corner, but yet, how many times do you see a hospital when you're sitting? Usually there's only one, right? But there's about 50 liquor stores, right? That just shows where their priorities are at. It's not about you being healthy. It's not about you getting up and, doing the best you can, being the best you can be. It's about keeping you in a certain cycle for you to constantly blame yourself for feeling less than. When in actuality, you wouldn't feel less than, or you wouldn't feel like you weren't good enough for that job if that job didn't exist, right? You wouldn't feel like you were a shit parent if food was provided for your child anyway. Like, that's just one tiny example, but you could take this and branch it into many, many different areas of life. At the end of the day, the point is the whole problem that they put there is in your face. Like, let's say you want a job and you didn't get that job. Now you're sitting there blaming yourself when that whole system and that whole concept was made by the shadow government in the first place. And jobs is a dumb example. Like, well, not really a dumb example. It's just a small example. Like, I don't want you to limit yourself and think, oh, just because it's a job, then look at the whole system. Look at everything that they've created, all the way down to like fucking. I don't know. This just came to my head. Probably won't even apply, but I'll just say it anyway. Like clothes, for example. Like there's a certain standard or look of clothes, right? Shout out to Dollar to Parliament. He brought up this freaking topic. It's so on. Like, some people look at you and look down at you because you might wear a certain type of clothes, right? Or you can only afford a certain type of clothes. But nobody would even look at you that way if we all had access to know how to make our own clothes. We wouldn't have to go to the store and get the only clothes that we can afford. We would all be going to the store and being able to get only the materials that we can afford. But it wouldn't even matter about the material because at the end of the day, your skill would be able to shine through because people would look at it and they'll be like, yeah, even though this guy's got a cheap ass material, he's got some really good like clothes making skills, right? But no, they decided to make a system where you have to go to the store and pay for your hard earned money that you should have been using that time. You could have been using that time that you were using to get that money to be making clothes for your family. You could have been making the baddest ass clothes, the most fucking decked to the nines, like the sexiest wardrobe for your whole family. But you have to spend your time going to work to get money so that you can afford a few jackets for your child. Like, do you see how the system is set up for you, like, to fail? Like, it's literally there for you to fail because at the end of the day, if we lived in a system where everyone just knew how to make things, everyone just had a certain skill, or instead of going to work, you just went and learned skills and then we just traded skills. Like, this is what Dolo talks about all the time in his videos. You wouldn't have to worry about all this shit. But just the fact that you even have to worry about those kind of stuff. That's all a setup by the system. Like, that's all in place by a man. And as we know, if you're a man or if you're a woman, you have intentions, you have motives. You don't just do shit because of, oh, You know, you don't just do shit because you're like an animal and you just like press the button because you just thought it was a lolly. Like, bitch, no, you got a brain, you got a mind, you got a fucking comprehension and an awareness. I'm not saying animals don't have those, but you get what I'm saying. You get the concept. But yeah, so as you can see, the whole system's basically just it's it's made that way. And then it turns around for you to say, like, because everything bends in from the mental to the physical, right? No, fuck this. I'm just getting my head up. So everything bends in from the mental to the physical, right? So if you're sitting there accepting something that they've put in place for you to even have in the first place, like that they've done and enacted on you, they were the ones who made a system where you had to go and buy or work to buy for shit rather than work to actually gain a skill that would actually benefit you in your life. Because if you know about anything about hustling or earning money in life, you know that skills is one of the most freaking like priceless shit that you can have. And even if you're not into like making money or hustling or anything, like you could still probably see why skills would be one of the most priceless things that you can have. It's a very valuable thing to have. You know, that's why you go to freaking. That's why even they have universities and shit. But like that in itself, like they teach you at university how to do the skill that someone else learned how to do, right? But they didn't teach you how did that person teach themselves how to do that skill. So they don't teach you that kind of shit, right? So they want to keep you docile. They want to keep you in a mindset where you just think, oh, I have to go for to someone else external. I have to go look externally instead of internally. I have to go look externally for me to gain a skill. And then if you want to ever expand or grow in that skill, you've got to go get more external shit to grow in that skill. When really you should just be able to go externally, learn something from someone, and then whatever they taught you, you should be able to take that, apply it to your life, and keep learning. That's what real teaching is like. That's what real teachers do. But a lot of people don't know how to do that shit. So, and that's due to the system, you know, it's not just always your fault. And that's what I wanted to say as well. As soon as you say, oh, it's my fault, or I'm a shit parent because of this, or I'm a blah, 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 all of a sudden, now you're taking on the curse that the government's put on you because they've put it in the system in the first place, right? So now you're taking on it's like a little secret curse that they put on you where they try to make you feel like you're less than or that it's your fault. But in actuality, the system and the concepts came from them. So that's like their way of like sacrificing you to their God so that you like you sacrifice yourself to their God by saying, oh, you're not good enough. Or maybe it's even worse if you say, oh, it's because God punished me and God said that I couldn't have this, or God punished me and that's why I don't have this job. Then that's like freaking double layers because not only are you blaming yourself and saying that you're getting punished by something external for something that's made by someone in the external, by someone physical, like a human being, you know? So not only are you blaming you're not only blaming yourself, but you're now saying that that human being, the concept that was made by that human being, that's that's actually a god. Now you're putting that up and saying that it's a god and saying that it's punishing you and that you deserve that. So now you've taken on double layers of curse because now they're able to go pretend like they didn't do shit while you take on all that energy, all that blame energy, all that heavy weight on your shoulders of feeling like you're not good enough, guilt, and like you've got like now this cloud over your head. But if you didn't have the system in the first place to tell you whether or not you could or couldn't do something, which is even faulty in itself, because at the end of the day, the fact that you didn't get a job has nothing to do with whether or not you could or couldn't do something. It's a lot of the time, we all know, a lot of the time people get jobs because they know people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you can't get a job because you don't know some, or if you don't know someone. But like, I'm just giving this as an example to, further explain my point of where I'm going with this video. So yeah, regardless, then you're taking on, sorry about my regardlesses, bro. Then now you're taking on that curse. You're like, oh, well, woe is you, so on and so forth. So now you've like taken on that burden from externally and you've brought it inside of your internal realm. Now you've started to manifest that. Now you're going to see examples of it in your reality. The more you start to pay attention to that, the more you start to add thoughts and feelings to it. And then they keep you, now they've kept you in this cycle. They've given you all these curses while they sit there and lie on their backs and act like they did a good job because now the society is running smoothly and everyone looks civilized and people aren't killing each other every day. But it's like, at what cost, at what expense, at the end of the day, to what end? Because if your system is just making people blame themselves, kill themselves, poison themselves, so on and so forth, then it's really not even helping anyone, really, at the end of the day. And so once you realize that the system is there, it's not even there to help you. It's like, really, it just becomes like, okay, a lot of this shit is just in place. And that's as well, I want to say that as well. Like, I don't want to make people think that like you can't trust anything in the government either, because at the end of the day, a lot of the shit that they put out for you to use, they use too. We still live in the same world. They breathe the same air as you. They drink the same water as you. I don't know about drinking the same water, but they breathe the same air as you. They do the same shit. They eat the same food. Actually, I don't know about the food. Actually, no. Well, let's just say the air. They breathe the same air as you, and maybe some other stuff. So, like, it's not to say that everything's completely bad. Some of the shit is actually there to benefit you, because if not, they would die too. Like, let's say if they were spraying the air with all this toxin, they'd be toxic. They'd be intoxicating themselves too, right? So let's just scrap all the spraying in the air shit for toxins, because at the end of the day, that would be counterproductive, and they'd be just killing themselves, unless they've developed some kind of vaccine for them to not be able to have those toxins. But in which case, why would you put the toxins in the air in the first place? Why wouldn't you just give people a bunch of vaccines that have poison in it? So, anyways, that's getting a bit too far from the point. I don't want to go too deep into that topic. But yeah, you get the concept. It's basically a lot of the shit in the system is set up for you to fail. And that's not to say as well, I want to preface this. Just because of that doesn't mean, like, that everything's like an end all be all, or that somehow you should just accept that things are shit, Because at the end of the day, like my other video, that was opposite to this. We manifest our reality from the mental to the physical. So if everyone's constantly accepting that they are the rulers of the system, or that, or like I was just saying, taking on those generational curses, or even beyond that, like if people just accepting that they know more, so the system is just that way because it should be that way. These are all ways that they keep everyone docile. These are all ways that they keep everyone keeping like their head down, and then they just think, oh, I wouldn't know any better. You wouldn't know any better. Why would you know any better? But who the fuck taught you that? Really think about that. Who taught you that you wouldn't know any better, or that you wouldn't be able to run a system? At the end of the day, that's coming from another human being. So I think you should probably maybe rethink that, love. But that's up to you at the end of the day. So regardless, yeah, I just wanted to say that. And with the system as well, like freaking, what was I gonna say? Oh, I had that. I had it right there. Like, what's it called? Oh yeah. So, obviously not to just accept that and turn around and be like, nah, actually, we can't do anything. It's not good. We're not good enough, or blah, blah, blah. Or the system's set up for us to fail, so we shouldn't try. And no, that's actually even more reason for you to try, because it just shows how ill equipped these people are to be running the system, for them to be sitting there and creating a system like this. It's a bloody shit show, honestly. It's fucked, but that's besides the point. I'm not here to sit. I'm not here to sit here and roast. All my main reason why I wanted to post this video, I didn't want anyone to sit there and blame themselves over something that was made by the governmental system that is already in place. Fair enough if you've manifested a bunch of shit and you know that you've manifested a bunch of shit from your own thoughts and feelings, seeds and water that you've, planted and watered. Fair enough. You know, that's good. We should take accountability of those things. But there's a certain degree where you should also look at the system that is in place and realize that a lot of the shit that's going on is there for you to feel like that, so that you can give them more energy, more of your esoteric currency. If you watch my other video on Twitch, which is probably deleted by now, I'm gonna have to make another video. But what's it called? Esoteric currency is when you pay attention to something. So every time you pay attention, you're giving them your esoteric currency. So if you're paying attention to something in the shadow government world, right? But then you're saying that it's your fault that you're not getting that, you're still giving them all that juice, all that energy, all that currency, all that esoteric shit. So yeah, that's the main reason why I wanted to make this video. Don't be so hard on yourself. At the end of the day, to a certain degree, if you've been going through shit and it's because of the shadow government, we also sometimes need to take accountability too. Like, what have you allowed? If you know that the system's a certain way, how have you allowed that system to have a hold over you mentally or physically, And that's how you can have equilibrium and see both sides, okay, and see what's actually your fault and what's actually just there to make you think it's your fault, so that you can sit there and blame yourself and give away your power again to the government, or give away your power to their God that they have in their mind that's imaginary. But yeah, that's some nasty shit. Fucking fucked up system, man. But I hope I explained that in the best way. If I think I'll just go back over the video. If I didn't, I'll probably redo this video anyway. So hope you guys got some good knowledge, and I'll most likely be back on within the next hour or so. If I get another, no, I'm not even gonna say that. Enjoy. Have a great time, day, wherever you are. My star is out, motherfucker. Well, not motherfucker, but it just came out.